This is the 168th episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the second week of February 2014. This episode is titled Looney Tunes. CloudFocus Weekly is brought to you by Compliance Locker by Arkus. Capture all chatter posts, deletions, and files. Available for free on the App Exchange. Take it for a spin at compliance-locker.com or just search for Compliance Locker on the App Exchange. I'm your host, Jason Atwood, and joining me is the co-host, Justin Edelstein. Justin, how are you doing today?
I got to be honest with you.
Is this going to be the worst podcast ever?
I'm a little tired.
Yeah?
I'm a little beat. It's a little late in the afternoon to be doing a podcast.
We're Wednesday podcasting.
We're Wednesday podcasting, which is early in the week, but we're doing it late in the afternoon, early evening. I would call this early evening. Would you? The lights are off.
5:40, yeah.
I mean, the janitor.
At any moment now, the janitor's going to come in here.
Come in and grab garbage.
He does that every time.
All the time.
Yep.
He's going to knock on that door. We're going to say, go away. Get out of here.
Our podcasting studio has yet to have the red light in front of it. There you go. Here he is.
There's the knock.
No thanks.
We don't want any.
There you go. Every time. So good. We're the greatest podcasting studio ever.
Well, that's why we're a podcast and not a broadcast.
Not a broadcast. Okay. I like it.
So anyway, I'm all right. Thanks.
Right.
A little tired.
So you really just that's really just one of those.
I'm not gonna throw it in it's not gonna tank, but I'm not having a great day. Be honest with you, I'm tired. It's a sad day here in New York. Ask me why.
Oh, why?
Derek Jeter announced that this is going to be the last season that he plays for the New York Yankees and in Major League Baseball.
And then he can't even play this season.
Well, no,
isn't he suspended for the entire season?
No, that's Alex Rodriguez.
Oh,
I'll talk sports and you can just sit
you
there.
can talk about that one sport, but there's only
it's
one.
A sad day. I'm guaranteeing tears in September, October. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna cry.
Yeah. It's gonna give
that's an idol since seen the whole career since a child. That's gonna be a rough one.
That is gonna be a rough one. You know what? I read it and I was like, isn't he suspended? And then you're right. I mixed up Alex Rodriguez and Derek Jeter,
you?
Which basically means I should be thrown out of New York. I mean, that's pretty terrible. That's terrible.
Just stop the podcast right now.
That's it. All right. Well, let's not stop the podcast.
All right,
let's talk about our wonderful things we have to talk about. So we have the blog post of the week, which is kind of going off my pick of the week last week. We have Project Loon from Google. And then we have 5 ways Salesforce 1 sets itself apart, which we kicked into thinking.
According to Mark Benioff.
Yeah, we thought this was going to be this is going to be a really interesting take. It's really a marketing thing. So I think we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about Salesforce 1 from a development standpoint, because we've actually been developing on the platform now, and we're kind of both, we'll talk about it. I think it's going to be interesting because we can just break down what's our experience so far developing not 1, but 2 apps on Salesforce 1.
Right.
We won't talk about the other app. We won't tell everybody what it is, but one app is obvious. Okay. So let's start with the newest blog post of this week, syncing between QuickBooks and Salesforce. Interesting enough, I did talk last week how I made QuickBooks Online my pick of the week. Really, I don't know if you've had a chance to use it now, because
not on the mobile.
Not on the mobile.
I've logged in. I've looked at it on the mobile, but I've actually done some tasks on QuickBooks Online. Didn't mess anything up
so far.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes over the next week or two. But pretty simple.
I will say, again, just kind of going back to that because we're talking about QuickBooks again. The idea of syncing QuickBooks and Salesforce has always been kind of a very difficult thing. And now with QuickBooks Online, Intuit sells a sync. It's not great, and it's one of the things that, we talk about in the blog post, but it is, for all intents and purposes, it's inexpensive, meaning it's easy to set up, or relatively easy to set up and relatively inexpensive. I mean, I think it's by your edition you're on, but basically $65 a month or so. It's pretty good, to sync your accounting system and your CRM system, even if it's rudimentary like it is, and even if it doesn't have a lot of the bells and whistles like you would want, like custom objects and things like that. That's still pretty good. Like if you're doing high volumes, like to sync stuff over, yeah, $65 a month, considering what you pay for Salesforce. I think that's not a bad option. I will say, having gone back now and looked at QuickBooks Online, since there are some limitations I'm noticing. Their security model is not very good. Like they don't have two-factor. Why Intuit? Here, I'm talking to you. Listen to me. Look me in the eyes. Why don't you have two-factor? This is logging into an accounting system. Shouldn't you have two-factor? You're a bad Intuit. Like you would just think, like, why wouldn't you have two-factor?
I don't know. I mean, let me ask you the question. We're moving off the blog post.
Thinking between QuickBooks and Salesforce.com, blog.arkusync.com.
The blog's there. There's
lots of options.
Some options
awesome.
and write-ups on all the options. So it's a nice resource for those that need to.
That's right. We get the question a lot. We thought we'd answer it for the community.
Exactly. So, as a person who used QuickBooks offline, QuickBooks Online yourself, now that you've used both, and you're saying, "Hey, QuickBooks Online, I need two-factor." What was the factor that was keeping me from picking up your laptop that you left at the bus station and going into QuickBooks if you didn't have a password on your laptop?
But that's the thing. Here's the factor. Physical access is the first factor versus a website which anybody can go to at any time and just go for. So physical access is the first thing. It's only available on my laptop. Second of all, there's a laptop password, which everybody should have. Third of all, there is a QuickBooks password.
There was a QuickBooks password.
So yes, they're both passwords, but the real one is the physical laptop. Like to get to my laptop, you have to actually get it, and I would notice it's gone versus I don't know who's trying to log into my QuickBooks Online. That's why online sites like Dropbox and Evernote, and I just upgraded my iPad mini the other day, and I started making that list of things you have to do, like, and you go back and you're like, Dropbox.
So many things.
Dropbox says you got to redo it. And you're like, oh, and Evernote says, hey, welcome back.
You almost need to like uninstall and reinstall. It's terrible.
Google. Oh no, it wasn't that bad.
Mine was awful.
Oh.
I had to uninstall it and reinstall it.
Oh.
Like it let me log in. It didn't sync any of the notes down.
It doesn't like you.
Weird.
It doesn't like you at all.
I just reinstalled it and it was fine.
But you two-factor comes in your face when you start to when you start to do things like this, but then you're appreciative. I mean, I was appreciative. I know when I put in my, my mail account and all that, yeah, it's a pain in the butt to do it again and have to get the one-time passwords, but I'm like, this is protecting me, so I'm happy it's happening. Anyway, I'm just surprised that an online system that's accounting software that has, probably not socials and things like that, but it has pretty what more is personal and private information than finances of a company, probably CRM, but then finance is probably number two. And you would just think that they would put a little bit more thought behind it. I can't fathom
Go to their idea exchange.
They don't have they do have a community. They do not have a great idea exchange. Anyway, so that's my thing on it. I like that they're there. Intuit has just always been behind the times. They just can't get out of their own way. Speaking of a company that can get out of its own way.
Or can't.
This is one of those just weird things. This actually came from my wife. Had you heard about this before?
No.
I had kind of heard rumor. I didn't know it had a name and all that. But anyway, my wife sends over this article today saying, have you seen this? It's cool. It's Google Loon. And it is... basically, it's a project. I thought it was an April Fool's. I kind of looked at my watch. I was like, is it April yet? Because this looks like an April Fool's.
Yeah, Google does those kinds of things.
This would be a perfect one for them. Like, we're going to put a bunch of balloons in the sky and give everybody internet.
Right.
And we're going to surf the
atmosphere to move the balloons around in sequence.
You kind of, I hope I'm not being punked. I'm hoping we're not going to be like, oh yeah, that was a joke.
Yeah, me too.
I think the video, the starting video with the kid talking about, access is too heartwarming to be a joke. So, but basically, while we say in the world, and I thought this was a good point, while we say in the world, everybody's on the internet, the reality is, over 5.5 billion people aren't on the internet out of the 7 on the planet, something like that.
2/3 of the world's population.
So this is a way to say, okay, and then I think for us who are internet people, we go, oh, does everybody need email and texting and whatever? But then they talk about weather and getting access to information and healthcare, and oh yeah, there would be good reasons to have everybody have internet. So they came up with this, as Google does. This is actually one of the great things that Google has about them in their sporadic all over the placeness. Also on their mission to sort of organize the world's data. They consider access to the world data as part of their organizational. So this is a program to build balloons, huge weather balloons that go up 20K in the sky.
Into the atmosphere.
In the atmosphere, above where the planes fly.
Yep.
Above where the weather happens, above the mountains. And then they float around on the atmosphere, and they provide internet access by making basically a connection to
a big network, and then back down, to the earth.
I mean, it's so cool.
Through antennas,
so cool.
It is kind of neat.
It is very neat, and the video is very good. I kind of want one. You want a Loon?
I want internet via the antenna. Like I want the antenna. That's how I at least read it to work. Like the antennas need to be at your apartment or your house or your building, whatever, and it connects to the ISP, which is connecting up. Like they're all kind of connected.
Right.
I want internet this way.
I didn't. Did you see anything about the speed of it? Because speed is everything.
No, I just see that they did pilot test it and in New Zealand, and you can learn a little bit more, but it didn't. I don't think it gives you there's a video, but whatever, video is a video. I don't think it actually gives you like speeds or benchmarks or anything along those lines.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's some nice visual. I mean, they built a nice website.
It is a very cool,
pretty cool.
It is very cool. I think it's a good point to think about the amount of internet, how much we take it for granted. It's kind of like power and water, in the United States. You just take it for granted.
Commoditized things.
Well, yeah. You just take things that are completely, that you just have and ubiquitously, and they never go away, even though, internet's something we pay for. And, now with things like net neutrality, there's a lot of discussion about the haves and have-not of internet and the control of the internet. The ISPs, cable companies are making a play for that. They're fighting companies like Google because they'd like to charge more for gaining access to things that, people want more. Kind of like your premium channels. Hey, you want to look at Netflix? Hey, I'm going to charge you more for your access to Netflix. I'm going to charge you than if you just want to go look at Arkus, blog.arkusinc.com.
Whoa.
That's what net neutrality is all about.
The other way around.
Well, of course, right. If you want to download the CloudFocus Weekly podcast, that's going to cost you 13 cents a megabit.
Right. And then if you want to watch the new House of Cards
coming out this Friday.
Yeah.
Is it this Friday?
Yeah. No, Friday or Thursday. Or Friday. The 13th, whenever that is.
That's tomorrow.
That's Thursday. That's tomorrow.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
So excited.
I know what I'm doing Saturday.
I know
watching 13 episodes of House of Cards.
I know where I'm not going for the next 2 weeks. I'm actually going on vacation. I'm going to a hotel that has Wi-Fi, so I'm like, well, maybe I'll be able to watch it.
Probably. It doesn't matter. It's there. The whole thing's there for when you're ready for it.
Yeah.
You can download it from a balloon in the sky.
I love it. Moving on. Next up is this article that we've already kind of slammed a little bit.
Yeah. The headline was just so enticing, but then it's on blogs.salesforce.com, so it's
less than enticing.
It's not less than enticing. It's just going to be a little bit more fluffy than if it was on TechCrunch or something like that.
Well, it's also 5. So the article is on Mark Benioff, 5 ways the Salesforce One platform sets itself apart. Great. Then he lists the 5, but it's like a sentence each. Developers are more important than ever. Really. ISVs, independent softwares can use the Salesforce One platform to publish next generation apps. Okay. 3, employees, whatever. Employees, admins, customers. But why don't we take this as a moment to talk about Salesforce One? So currently, Arkus has 2 products on the App Exchange. If you don't know them, you haven't listened to any one of our podcasts, but we have Compliance Locker and the Permissioner. We are in the midst of playing around with maybe going to sort of build another one, just a mobile-only application. And so we started by trying to take the Permissioner and sort of just mobilizing it. So why don't you talk about the experience so far?
That, the notion of taking all your stuff and bringing it from the past and into the future.
Just bring it.
Like Parker did at Dreamforce. Is a little more challenging than it seems on the surface. The permissioner is a pretty busy page, does a lot. There's a couple different sections to it, searching, and by all accounts, it totally works. Like in the dev org where it is, we've checked the one checkbox to make it mobile, and the functionality works. It's just not mobile. It doesn't look right on the device. It doesn't scale properly to the page, even though it is not like fixed width, and like it's built to to like,
last.
Well, to expand and collapse, whatever that. I'm blanking on the terminology for building web pages like that these days is. But even still, it just doesn't look right. So then, like, building mobile Visualforce pages is a little challenging because you have design constraints. You have to think about like a user experience on a phone and what they're used to, and then what they can do inside of the Salesforce One standard application container versus what you can actually accomplish on a Visualforce page are two different things.
Right.
So, like, while swipe gestures and like sticky icons that float are there inside the Salesforce One app, you can't really do those things necessarily in Visualforce. So there's some challenges in building out, like, as the ISV portion of this, I guess that's what I'm speaking to. It's not, the super simplest thing in the world, but at the same time, the platform is there. So it's like, you want to publish an app, you could put together a really, really simple application really, really quickly and publish it to the Salesforce One container really, really easily. Now I'm just talking about like mobile Visualforce. There's obviously a whole lot of other, APIs, and that's kind of the first point, developers that allow people to connect in different ways to other services, as well as the Salesforce APIs themselves, and use those on a mobile device. We're not really doing that. We're kind of just mobilizing an already existing application and making it look and feel and work the way it should on a mobile device within the Salesforce One framework. And it's been a little challenging.
And so then we decided to try as a, proof of concept / scratch an itch, try to create another application that would just be Salesforce One only, it would only be for Salesforce One. And it was that too, like as we sat through, and originally I just wrote up some requirements or wrote up a user story, threw it at you, said do this, and then as we got kind of into it, you could see, well, the way you look at your phone and the iOS platform, and we're going to talk iOS only for this point, sorry. And the way you manipulate things and do things isn't necessarily how Salesforce One, the platform, works. So there's things that you're used to doing on your phone that you can't do in Salesforce One. Like there's just...
Well, you can do in Salesforce One, you just can't do in like mobile Visualforce. Like there are things...
Oh, right. Then but that's even worse.
Right,
like there's things in Salesforce One, functions that you can't you can't use yet.
Interface patterns or design patterns that aren't available inside of Visualforce but are there. Like Visualforce kind of just loads in this frame.
So there's stuff that they haven't either built or exposed to the developer community to do some of the stuff that they're doing.
For the design pattern stuff. And they even tell you in the Salesforce One developer guide, don't use our style sheets. Like, don't use our stuff because it's going to change, basically. It's like, warning, don't use our stuff.
Right.
Like,
use your own
stuff.
And by stuff, he means style sheets, so it means coloring and things. Don't reference their fonts.
Don't reference our stuff.
You could use their fonts, you just don't reference their own because they're going to change them and it could blow up your thing. So you want to pick the same font, you can just write it into your app. So if they change their font, you would be stuck with the font you picked.
Right.
Well, it's interesting. I think it's been Salesforce One as it comes around, as we've talked about it, as it's been a bigger story, I think. Even when talking to clients now, we talk about mobile, and the mobile story is just so much easier to talk about.
It's such a better story. Just to talk about it not from a developer ISV point of view, and just to talk about it as a user of Salesforce mobile, it's come so far in such a short period of time. Even though it feels like it's taken a long time to get here, now you can see the pace of innovation coming on the mobile side, which is really pretty cool. You know what I didn't see in the I went from like being really nice to now being a little like I'm gonna bash the safe harbor statement. Remember when we were sitting there at it was either the Dreamforce keynote or maybe even the Salesforce One tour here in New York, and we were talking about and in spring 14 safe harbor, you'll be able to brand the mobile app.
Yes.
I didn't see that in the release notes. I just missed that.
I didn't see it either. I don't think it was spring 14. I think it was coming soon.
No, it was in the next release.
Oh. Well, considering they think that this release is the Salesforce One release, maybe they meant the one after this one.
Maybe. I could swear they said spring, but
it's possible.
And it could be in the release notes. They were just so big, I may have just missed it, but I don't feel like I would have missed that one. I would have caught that one. That's a big one.
Maybe.
Anyway.
Well, things I'd like to catch.
What would you like to catch?
Let's do some CloudFocus app picks of the week.
Let's do it.
First of all, let's do a little pre-apology.
What are we pre-apologizing
Well,
about?
there's going to be no CloudFocus Weekly next week unless we do another one at the end of this week to publish next week.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have one next week because you're going to be on vacation all week.
So maybe we could do one and publish it next week.
Why are you doing that?
I don't know.
Let's not make promises we can't keep. We'll try our best.
You get what you pay for.
We'll try our best to do another CloudFocus Weekly before you go away. If we don't, we apologize.
In advance
of next week.
And
then I'll make you apologize again in 2 weeks.
When I come back.
As a preamble to that, here comes our app picks of the week. I'm going to be picking a lot of wedding apps.
Why is that, Justin?
Well, because I'm getting married in May.
So excited.
Come May, there's going to be like a 3 or 4 week stretch where there's not going to be any
that's true.
weeklies. So
that's true. This could be the year we break under 40 or so.
That would be bad. That'd be bad. But it's certainly possible. So
possible.
I've been researching. There's this class of applications, and I've been researching 2 of them.
Okay.
The one I'm going to pick is free, and I think it's the one I'm going to end up using.
Okay.
And it's called Wedpix.
Wedpix.
Now there's another one, and the other one, I'll just give you the name of it. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but if I pull out my phone real quick, it's called Photo Op. Yeah, and the other one's actually cooler, but it costs money, and this one's free. The idea is you create a wedding app. So myself, I would go in here and say, I'm getting married, I'm engaged. I click getting started, and it creates my account.
Right.
It then gives me an ID, like a wedding ID, like a 5-digit. This is my account.
Yep.
And then I invite all of my people who are coming to my wedding or any other event surrounding my wedding to download this application and type in my wedding ID.
Okay.
When they do, they can then, using the app, take pictures and video at the wedding, and I get it all. And then so it creates an album for me. Not an album, but like a web.
So it's like collaborative wedding pictures.
It basically creates a little wedding album for me based on all the pictures that everybody's taken on their smartphones because everyone's taking pictures anyway. So it's like back in the day when you'd go to a wedding or an event and you had little disposable cameras sitting on. Yeah, this kind of replaces
then digital
that.
cameras. I've been to ones where they literally throw $100 digital cameras on everybody's thing.
Yeah, this kind of replaces that. You just go into this app, put in my wedding and then snap away, take videos, whatever. You have it; they're yours, but I also have them.
But you have to be in the app to take the pictures.
You have to be in the app,
Or
or
you
you
have to
can upload the
right,
apps into,
right.
or you can upload the pictures into the app.
Interesting.
The other one's
Okay.
more interesting because it uses your location. It knows that you're at my wedding when you open the app, so you don't have to like know my ID. You just kind of open the app and you just snap away. And it can, like, I would control it. So, like, I can say, we're at my bachelor party.
I've heard of this.
And then you would open the app and you'd know, like, oh, you're there.
So you want me to post pictures of
No,
your bachelor party?
Not at all. But I'm just saying, like, with that one, you get, like, up to 6 events. This one's really just WedPix, the one I'm picking, which is the free one, is really just all about the wedding itself. And I think it's kind of a really cool new wave of applications just to get these photos and videos into this private album with unlimited guests, etc. And then people can make comments, and instead of likes, they call them loves, all that kind of stuff.
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
And then you can download. I can download the pictures too if people actually take some nice shots. You can download them. So anyway, WedPix. If you're getting married, I'm gonna have all sorts of apps for you in the next couple of months.
And if you're not, you're gonna get really bored of all his app pics.
Yep.
Interesting, because you can do similar things, and I've now taught my wife and you even. We did things with the iCloud shared folders, which you can now on iOS 7. You can have multiple people contribute to.
Right.
So in theory, you could do the same thing. You create a shared folder and say,
but this is for Android. This is an app.
Right.
It's not like iTunes or iPhoto.
Right.
What it's for anybody.
I'm surprised. Yeah.
It's cool. I mean,
That's cool.
If I was Facebook, I'd buy one of these suckers in a minute.
Right.
And be like, yeah, Facebook weddings done.
Facebook's weddings is done. All right. Well, my pick is something I've used a couple times, and I actually found that they had an app for it, which is so I'm about to go embark on a lot of travel. I'm going away, and then in March, I think I'm in 5 cities in 7 days.
Yes,
it's crazy.
That's impossible.
No, it's not.
It's not possible.
Atlanta, Chicago, Boston, New York. All right, 4 cities.
Forgot New Orleans.
Oh, New Orleans. 5 cities.
Can't
7
be
days.
7 days.
It's Wednesday to Wednesday.
Impossible.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anywho, so there it was. It was 5 cities, 7 days. It could be 6 days, I think. Anyway, so I, travel a lot, travel more and more. But when you're booking your flight, you now can pick your seats, whatever. So there's one of the apps I've always picked and used, like Flight Track Pro and things like that. They have a connection that says you can go and look at, sort of once you already have your seats, it says you can go look at Seat Guru to see if your seats are good or not. But you already have them at that point, so you're kind of like, like, oh well, okay, I guess you can move them. But there's an app on the on iOS. I'm sure they have other versions called Seat Guru, and you can look up either by airline, by flight, whatever, and then you can basically see reviews of the seats. So you can go and look at, so like there's like red or green, or there's someone saying good. So you can say, well, what's the best seat? You might look at something on their little map and go, oh, that's a great seat. And you hover over it and it says seat 11A is an economy class seat that is missing a window and also has no recline due to the exit row behind you. So again, if you're flying an hour, whatever, but if you're doing a lot of travel, you want to sit in nice seats. Or this one by the end says, C20B is in the last row of the plane. The proximity of the lavatory may be bothersome.
Yeah, that is bothersome. I hate the last row. You can't recline, and you're always next to the bathroom.
So some things you can figure out obvious. Like some things are obvious. Like, you just don't know as a traveler. But other ones, you wouldn't know that those that are red there, you wouldn't know why they were.
No, I wouldn't know why those two are red.
But you would, So, all right, Seat Guru, it's free. It's a nice little app. It's not as... What they could do, and I've seen a lot of these apps do, is they read from your TripIt. So if you haven't heard me talk about TripIt, you're crazy, because I love me some TripIt. But some of my apps will read from my TripIt plans and pull them into the app and then tell me, like Flight Track Pro will do that. It'll read in. And so this one doesn't. And I kind of feel like you should do that.
They should. Idea Exchange.
Idea Exchange
Everyone
for
needs an
Seat Guru.
Idea Exchange.
So that's my pick, Seat Guru for the iOS. Another thing you should pick, you should pick us.
You double picking?
No, you should pick us on Twitter. Follow Justin at Just Elstein. Follow me at Jason M. Atwood. Follow Arkus at Arkus Inc. We're on the Facebook.
I just hit exactly 1,700 followers.
Wow.
Precise. Like with the double zeros.
On the Twitter?
On the Twitter.
That's crazy sauce.
People like me. I don't know
They do. Facebook.com/Arkus Inc., the Dreamforce Portal Group. We're in the Success Community Group, so there's a whole, literally a group in there for Just CloudFocus
Is that what
Weekly.
it is, a group?
I think it might have over 100 in there now.
That's nice.
We're on LinkedIn, Google+, and if you have not already, please remember to go to subscribe and review us in iTunes, one of the few places you actually can review podcasts, although I think more are coming. And until either next week or a pre-recorded for next week, this is Justin and Jason saying enjoy those cloudy days.